Hey guys, Jason Ledeni here, and it's time for another installment of Ask Me Anything. This is where you get to ask me any questions, card related or not. Now, I usually do this with a nice glass of scotch and I relax, but recently I've decided to give up drinking for good and start drinking for evil. Alright, so let's get started. The first question comes from Simon. Are there any card sleights that you do not like and won't consider using? There's a few, like for example the Classic Pass. When I was 12 years old or whatever, I started to practice it, and then I realized there was much more convincing ways and much more practical ways to control a card. Ty Mostentflant asks if I don't like the slip cut. I use a tabled slip cut. I don't really like the ones in the hands. What are some overlooked effects, moves, or books that you believe that should get more consideration? You mentioned the Paul book, of course, that is a great book to have, but the Stars of Magic book, Card College, Royal Road, people always talk about Royal Road as a great book to have, and then I'll fool them with something out of that book and they ask where's it from. That's because they didn't read the book. Expert Card Technique, Encyclopedia of Card Tricks, there's a lot of great material in those books there. Yusuf Ben asks, how do I approach a table at a gig? It's simple, I walk up to it. After I walk up to it, I ask, would you guys like to see some entertainment? And then after that, I either get a yes or no and continue from there. It's not a big deal if they say no, they didn't want to see any magic. 9 times out of 10 they say yes, and then you're good to go. If they say no, it's not a bad thing, you just say thank you and you walk away. How do I develop a routine? That is quite an extensive answer that I don't have time to talk about in this particular video, but these are things that take years to put together. So it starts with an idea of an effect, something that's astonishing. I start to look for a premise, I start to think about my character, I start to put it all together. Then I go out and perform it, and there's a bunch of trial and error after that, and I tweak it and fix it up, and then eventually it becomes a routine. But there's no direct step 1, step 2, step 3 kind of a method for that. It's just something that I've been doing since my early 20s. After you do it for a while, you start to get a little bit better at it. Rob Jackson asks, before you performed for people who hired you, when performing out in public and approaching randomers, how did you handle rejection? It's not a bad thing at all. There's billions and billions and billions and billions of people on this planet. So if one person says no, they don't want to see a trick, it's actually their loss. That's the mentality to have. It's their loss that they didn't get to see a great trick. So that's nothing off me. I just walk up and find some other people to perform for. Alex asks, I hear the soul in that guitar. Yes, you do, Alex. Do you struggle with balance? And I'm just generally curious, do you draw as well? I'm assuming you mean balance in the sense of how do I keep up my card chops and my guitar and keyboard chops. I don't, my profession is with cards, so I always make sure that this is where all most of my work goes. But for playing music, I usually look at that like a therapy kind of thing. I sit down and just play for the sake of playing. I don't really worry about my chops. They just kind of stay there as long as I'm willing to go in the studio and practice from time to time. I don't really struggle with balance, and I would love to be a better artist. I used to draw when I was younger. I never really had any formal training or anything. So I can watch hours of Bob Ross and my mind is just blown away that somebody is that technically good. Dan Luckett asks, who would be a good person to study to make our magic better that is not a magician themselves? I don't really have anybody specific to give you right now, but basically my general rule of thumb is look at people that are really at the top of their game, musician, if it's an artist, sports, anybody that's really firing on all cylinders. I like to look at them in their field and see what are they doing so well and read articles about them, and it's just inspiring to see somebody at the top of their game, and therefore that inspires me. Mustafa, I think I asked this on behalf of everyone that truly cares about magic. How do you keep your hair so stylish? I know, isn't it something else? That, my friend, is a secret. When is your book coming out? I know, I know it is taking forever. Actually, I do have a copy of my book. I have a copy right here. It's right here. It's the only version of my book in existence. It's the manuscript version of the book. This is truly the only edition that exists. I don't think you want this one. There's a lot of revisions still in here. As a matter of fact, this one still has Aces of Spaces in here. So I don't think anyone really wants this one. Next question from Justin. Do I golf? I have a love-hate relationship with golf, and that usually means on the front I shoot a 37 and on the back I shoot a 48. I just love to hate that game. So right now I'm on a little bit of a break. Paul Thomas asks, how do you structure practice sessions? It really depends on what's coming up. If I've got a big performance coming up, I'll just be focusing on rehearsals and things like that. But if I don't have any shows for a week or two or something like that, I'll work on my technical stuff. So that really is kind of based on what's on the calendar. Also, it's nice to keep your old routines in shape. So something I haven't done in 6 months, I'll bring that back out and kind of bring that trick back to life. And also, it depends on your day. If you have the full day free, then yeah, you can put a full day's worth of practice in. But for the most part, I practice anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to 6-7 hours. I did 10 hours a little while ago, just because I enjoyed practicing all day. It didn't bother me one bit. Mark asks, when am I coming to California? Next year I am performing a Canadian lecture tour that starts out on the West Coast. I think it starts in Seattle or somewhere in that neck of the woods. And then I fly up and then across Canada back to here in upstate New York. So what I think I'll do is put California at the beginning of that. So stay tuned for more information on that. Ben Blau asks, or states, let's talk about whiskey. Let's. This is 12-year Macallan. It's one of my absolute favorites. Jason England writes, 5 chocolate chip cookies for breakfast every day is ludicrous. The proper number is 6. That is not true. Unlimited. There is no limit to the amount of cookies that you can have in one day. I've seen it. Raymond Williams says, Jimmy Page is one of the best guitar players / musicians of all time, period. Well, he definitely is influential, and he's a phenomenal technician. However, back in the day, I do think Jimmy Page was a bit sloppy. I think that has something to do with the fact that he had every known drug in the world in him at the time. David asked, do I ever show my girlfriend magic? Yes, and it is an excruciating experience. Lauren doesn't like to be fooled. I love you, baby. Brandon says, give away another close-up mat. Brandon, I give away so many close-up mats. So, if you want one of my close-up mats and free decks of cards, free Skype lessons, free everything, free books and DVDs, the whole 9 yards, make sure you subscribe to my email list, and that way you'll get notifications when I'm giving away free things. Mustafa asks, would you please tell us everything wrong with the movie Now You See Me 1 and 2? Honestly, we just don't have that kind of time. Jake asks, how do I handle hecklers? Well, Jake, I'm going to handle your question the same way I handle hecklers. Next question. What would you say the easiest but still powerful effect that you know? Hands down, one of the most powerful and easiest effects to do is Out of This World. There's just quite nothing like it. Sean asks, what is the best way and method for learning a quick, smooth faro? Well, there's no such thing as learning a faro quickly. That's one of the most difficult moves in all of card magic. But I do have one suggestion for you, and that is practice with new decks. Get traditionally cut new decks. Penguin Elites. Can someone say endorsement? Penguin Elites are great. They're traditionally cut and they will make your life a lot easier. Philip asks, when will I be back to Prague for another lecture? Philip, as soon as humanly possible. I will probably be back either in 2019 or the end of the year, or definitely the year after that. I had an absolutely amazing time in Prague. It's a beautiful city, beautiful people and food and everything. I can't wait to be back. Were you ever into coin work? Yes, I was. There's modern coin magic right there. And David Roth's material, yes, there was a time when I was into coin magic, but then I smartened up. No, coin magic is great. It's just that my heart is with cards for some reason. There's something that pulls me to playing cards, and I just don't feel that same attraction when it comes to coins. However, I do like somebody like Eric Jones, watching his work. It's just, it looks like real magic, and it's just so inspiring. But my heart is with cards. Slightly Retarded asks, how many routines do you actively perform? Right now, I have about 60 to 80 routines that are currently being rehearsed and used in performance, and then I've got who knows how many other, probably another 100 or so that I have to keep kind of bringing back and rehearsing. Pascal asks, how do I reply to a girl that asks, what else can these fingers do right after a performance? Well, you're going to want to get her phone number. Do you consider it to be imperative that all your shuffles be the same? In the sense that, do you do some Hindu shuffles, in the hands, riffle shuffles, overhand shuffles? I look at it this way. I'm a card expert, right? So I shuffle cards in multiple ways. So I don't care that my in the hands faro looks different than a tabled shuffle, and if I do a Hindu or an overhand. Since I'm an expert at cards, I should know lots of different various ways to shuffle a deck of cards. So I would not suspect that a spectator would look at watch you shuffle cards and say, oh wait, no, that shuffle's different, that doesn't make sense. I don't think they're watching that closely. However, if you do a particular routine and throughout the entire routine you do nothing but table shuffles and at the very end you do one in the hands faro, that might look a little bit weird. But over the course of your show, I think it's okay if you mix it up and shuffle the cards in any way that you see fit. Alright guys, that was a lot of fun. I appreciate all of the input, all of the questions that came in. Hopefully I got a chance to answer your question, and if I didn't, it's only because for the sake of time, perhaps your question made it to the editing room floor. In the comments section underneath this video, you can leave more questions, alright? So here's how it works. Leave a question, card related or not. On the next Ask Me Anything vlog, I will answer that question. Alright guys, thanks for all your questions, and I'll talk to you next time.